Packard and the B-Robb. The Jay-Z wet in the catalog. The kids are legends to
Welcome back to Still Poddable, the best gosh darn Celtics podcast and the best place for coverage of your 2024 NBA champion Boston Celtics. I am Sam Jam Packard, joined by Brian Robb of MassLive.com. And we are a Monday through Friday Celtics podcast, but this is the free edition. If you want the Monday through Friday content, go to patreon.com/stillpotable. Again, this is the free episode hosted on the CLNS YouTube channel. That means today's episode is brought to us by Factor, PrizePicks, and the Gametime app. And so if you would like to save money on any of those, use promo code CLNS for some sweet deals today. B-Rob, we got some news over the weekend. You know, a big story coming out of New York. Marcus Morris signed an Exhibit 9 contract with the New York Knicks. No. That's what
we'll get to that. We'll get to that. That is the meat of this podcast.
It's on the agenda. Don't worry. But that's what we call in the biz a misdirection. The real news coming from an article in the New York Post describing a conflict between the father and son owners of the Boston Celtics, Irv and Wyc Grousbeck. This entire time, the Grousbecks have been saying the desire to sell the team is from, and I didn't realize this before reading the article, it was just a classic case of estate planning. That's the only reason why there was a desire to sell the team. Apparently not so. Apparently, running the Boston Celtics is exorbitantly expensive, including signing every single player to massive extensions. And Irv, the real money man, the 90-year-old gentleman who I think said in the article owns 20% of the team, doesn't care for it too much and wants out of the basketball business. And that is the main reason what is driving the kind of why the Celtics are up for sale right now.
Yeah, there's again, this isn't, first of all, this is New York Post.
Not the most reputable of newspapers.
Yeah,
also not
there.
They don't have a Celtics beat. Like, I don't know who these two authors are, but I'll look them up.
Right. And so this same author did write last month that Fenway Sports Group was interested in buying the Celtics, and there have been reports shooting that down since then. With that said, we don't know yet. They're obviously still very early in the bidding process. And, you know, we just don't this. All this stuff will eventually reveal itself. But yeah, with that said, there's a lot of information in here, Packard. And a lot of it is stuff that we've talked about in the past but now there's some real numbers in play here, which I think is important in terms of where this team is at. And I think one of the first things that sticks out from the article, the report is, you know, they won the title this year as a 1 seed with tons of playoff home games, and the super maxes haven't kicked in yet for Jason and Jalen. Things haven't gotten bad yet. And they barely broke even, paying just $43 million or so in luxury tax. So that kind of just tells you in terms of just where things are for the franchise, I feel like, Packard. And also just where how the Celtics run is okay, this is, if you don't own the arena, even if everything goes right for you, and you sell out the building every night, and you have a contracts that are still reasonable, just a little bit over the tax, you're still barely making money as a franchise. That's pretty eye-opening for the potential buyers that could be in play here.
Yeah, it seems pretty wild. And again, it's not like their books were released. It was an anonymous source telling us that they barely broke even. But you're correct. The Celtics, they get the ticket revenue, but they don't get any of concessions. They don't get, I think they get a small portion of advertising revenue for like certain electronic banners that go around TD Garden. But the majority of the revenue that comes from owning the building is from like ad revenue or like naming rights and things like that. And they get none of that without having to or having the opportunity to own the building. And so that I think that was interesting that in their most successful year, when you think revenue would be at its highest, they're not making a lot of money. This doesn't like, I never know how to react to these things because I feel like, and it goes back to, I guess, lockouts past where the owners of all of these teams always claim that they're not making any money. And then new TV deals come in and it's like, well, you're going to be making a crazy amount of money just from those TV deals alone. The value of the franchise is going to like increase significantly. And so whatever the Grossbecks bought the
360 million.
360 million. What they said in this article was that like maybe if things go badly, they're going to be sold for $5 billion. And so, yes, I get the idea of like money paid out this year and money taken in this year is not the same, but the appreciation and value of the franchise has gone up more than 500%. I can't even do the math right now. And so it's hard for me to be like, oh, Irv.
Poor Irv.
It also gives me an appreciation for Wick being like,
yes,
and that's another interesting number that came out. I don't think we've known fully like these percentages. It says Irv owns 20% of the team. Wick only owns apparently 3% of his own money. And so, but he has been the forward facing owner. Wick, and I feel like he was on television or maybe on the Sports Hub last summer, just being like, if you want to win championships for the Boston Celtics, you just got to go out there and spend money. He's been very willing to be like, there's no, and I feel like Brad Stevens has talked about that. There's never been a move where they've been like, we're not going to do this because of any sort of financial limitation. And so Wick, knowing his dad didn't want him to spend the money, still feels like he gave Brad the blank check to go out and assemble a championship level team.
Completely. Like, I mean, ever since, Danny stepped away, and they started piecing it back together, and starting with that 2022 finals run, they've been uber aggressive and have not been shy adding for the now and like pushing the chips in the middle, particularly with this Porzingis deal last year and the Drew Holiday deal right after, before camp. Thing like, this is our moment. And so that is a credit to Wick and to Brad and the rest of the front office being like, we have a window right now and we know it's going to be very tight in a couple years from now to, maintain even, 75% of this roster as is. So the more we get aggressive now, especially with other teams lacking assets or just lacking, draft picks, whatever, or just the urgency that the Celtics have, they kind of were ahead of the curve on this. When you look at the rest of the league and how this offseason went for the Sixers and then the Knicks of the world. So for them to get in front of it before the shit hit the fan with, the bill coming due, literally and figuratively here, it is something else. But the Irv versus Wick part of this is fast because it's like the timing of the sale was abrupt and very surprising. So that would line up with being like the books came through, everything came through the year. It's like, wait, we barely made money, and for the valuation can be $5 billion, but if you're paying the bills year after year right now, like it's one thing to get that valuation on paper, and then another thing to actually like see those dollars as opposed to just paying payroll and everything else. So it is a fascinating subplot to see that how this kind of played out and the awkward timing of how this is, this sale is going on here. Let's take a break here to hear from our sponsor, PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. And PrizePicks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, which I think is very useful so that your lineups stay in play even if one of your players get injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, your picks are still live. I know personally with PrizePicks, I'll be looking at the NFL season here. Jacoby Brissett is going to be the quarterback for the Patriots, so I'll be looking what his passing yards are out of the gate. Probably will take the under on that one. So download the PrizePicks app today and use the code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game.
The other thing that's interesting to me is that the plan in place is to not actually sell the team till like 2028.
Right.
And so both Irv and Wick are on the hook for this year, upcoming season, where they're reportedly due to lose $80 million. And then the following season, which is when they're going to be spending
$230 million taxes.
Exactly. And so if there's a kind of this desperation to like get out from under having to pay that, why set up this like tiered auction buying system for years down the line when you have these bills coming immediately over the next 2 years? That part has still never really been explained as to why they've tried to set it up that way. And it's just a messy situation. And I think Adam Silver and the NBA would generally, they don't like to have the teams transferred in that manner, because we can see what happened in Minnesota with the Timberwolves, where Glenn Taylor basically had this tiered process where Alex Rodriguez and Mark Lowry had to make 3 payments, and they made the first 2, which is billions of dollars. And then Glenn Taylor was like, oh, the team's pretty good now. What if I didn't sell? And that's going to be an entire ongoing legal battle. So it just creates this kind of weird system, but it still doesn't make sense to me, because the immediate pain in terms of financially is at least 80 million, according to this article. Again, all of this is according to this New York Post article. Is $80 million next year, and then that $230 million tax bill for the following season. So the timelines still have never really made sense to me.
Yeah, that's a good point. In terms of like why you can take some of what this article says with a grain of salt, but maybe it's like a balance of like, okay, listen, we created this championship window. Like if you're Wick, you're like, we're going to give this all up immediately. Like, how about, okay, you don't want to pay like the full bill. How about if we get an influx of cash here and we give some of it now? I get to stay as governor.
Maybe the first payment is just like cover our losses for the next 2 years.
It's like cut our losses in half for, and obviously, they don't own 100% of the team. This is still fractions. There's plenty of owner within that group and within the team itself. We don't know the full breakdown of who owns what, but Pags, I assume, like owns probably in the double digits.
He mentioned 20%. Pags owns more than Wicks does, which is like an interesting
definitely. He definitely owns more than Wick does. Not that, but like, though he still doesn't have a controlling share. But that element that says like, okay, this is a compromise of like, okay, we know this is all here. And the other part of this too is like, if this was as dire as this is playing out, like those extensions for Derek White and Sam Hauser probably would not have been authorized. Like, because for strategically, those look like good deals on paper and fine, but like if they just, those deals are going to cost tens of millions of dollars in tax penalties on top of it. So it's one thing to know, like, you keep those assets, but if like there was that much of risk to like even add any kind of payroll for the future down the line like that, as dire as this is laying out, then you would think that those deals don't get done.
Yeah, it's interesting again with the timeline of like, does the new owner come in? There's been so many discussions about like a new owner is going to want to get a new building. I just think that's so impossible. I think I saw someone on Twitter saying like the new owner must be committed to buying the TD Garden I was like, Delaware North doesn't want to sell the
They're
TV
not
bar.
selling that thing.
They make so much money. Like Delaware North is the family company that also owns the Bruins. Like they have no interest in selling one of the major venues in Boston. And so the Post article speculated that this maybe drops the price from $6 billion to $5 billion. But it is a question, especially with that $230 million tax penalty coming in 2 years. And again, it still gets weird to me with the dates of when this kind of new owner would be financially responsible. But it feels like the Celtics front office have operated in a world where money is not the issue, it's putting the best team on the court. Does a new owner come in and be like, we're not paying $230 million if I buy the team? Like, and I think I dislike that because it means you're going to have to make a move to break up the core that just won this championship. But if you're buying the team, you have kind of a right to say how the team operates, and paying the repeater tax of just paying taxes that's equal to the payroll you're putting out. I can understand I've never been a business guy, but I can understand how someone might want to be able to dictate terms of that. And I just think that creates an interesting dynamic of a new owner coming in, and say they make the first payment. They might not officially control the team until 2028, but they make a first payment, and conditional upon that is like, you got to cut payroll, buddy. And telling Brad, like, it just creates this interesting and weird dynamic that directly affects the basketball on the court. I feel like a lot of the stuff hopefully does not change kind of like the team's general commitment to winning. I think they're always going to want to field a competitive franchise, and that's something Brad has always talked about, is like sustainable success. But I would not be surprised if a new owner comes in. I don't think they're going to come in and be like, well, you have to trade Sam Hauser, but like they're going to say, we're not going to pay $230 million just in taxes. People don't like taxes. Historically, wars have been fought over taxes. And so I think how they enter, I think this next year, I would be shocked if they made a deal just to cut money. But next summer, I feel like it's almost guaranteed that someone with one of these longer term contracts is going to be moved, just so there can be less payroll, less tax bill.
Football season is back, and it is your opportunity to get in on the action with Gametime. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Gametime Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Gametime Picks makes it easier to save on sports, concert, comedy, theater, and more. Any tickets that you want, you can get through the Gametime app. They have all-in pricing. This feature allows you to show the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Seat views, panoramic views from the seat in the app before you buy. That comes with a lowest price guarantee, or if not, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. And then Gametime ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app today, create an account, and use the promo code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code CLNS for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime.
All right, let's take a break here to hear from our sponsor, Factor. Warmer, sunnier days are calling. Feel for them with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. I know personally, at home, myself, my wife, my son Zach, getting mealtime ready is a big chore a lot. So Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you'll always have time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. Make today the day you kickstart a new healthy routine. What are you waiting for? There's 35 different meals to choose, more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week. So you'll have a ton, a new variety to choose from. You can make every day delicious from breakfast to dessert. Stay fueled with easy, nutritious options. Keep kitchen time to the minimum. That's been huge for us. No shopping, no prepping, cooking, or cleaning up. They're ready for you. Just warm them up and enjoy effortless support for your lifestyle. Choose from 6 menu preferences to help you manage calories, maximize protein intake, avoid meat, or simply eat well balanced. So head to factormeals.com/greenteam50 and use code greenteam50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code greenteam50 at factormeals.com/greenteam50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. And now back to the show. Clearly, I mean, talking to people around the league, even before the start of last year, when they make these moves, they're open like this is a 2-year window for the Celtics. Like last year, and it's a pretty big deal. They got done in year 1. Like important for a lot of reasons right now, like including taking the edge off, at least not from the player perspective, not from Joe Mazzulla's perspective, but certainly for the front office and stuff like that, being like, all right, we got done. Now we're playing with house money to a degree. Like, can we go back to back here? But it's a situation where if you're a new owner of a team, Packard, you want to come in like, hey, welcome to the team. Like, roll out the red carpet and now break up a championship core. Like, is that how anyone wants to like come into town? Probably not. But that's, I think, unless you're coming in with Bezos or Ballmer money, like that's probably some direction that it's going to have to be done. And I guess maybe Urban Wick can kind of sell me like, listen, well, you're only getting half it, so you don't have to pay $230 million in taxes. You don't have to pay 115. Like, we'll chop that with you as long as Wick can stay in control. But all that stuff is still subject to negotiation, like price-wise and stuff like that. I imagine it's like with Mark Cuban in Dallas. Like, he was supposed to be a front-facing figure after the sale, but clearly they negotiated that where he disappeared into the background, and the new owners kind of were front and center when they won the West Finals. So
yeah, once you're not actually the owner of the team, it just creates an awkward situation where if someone comes in and buys the team and is financially on the hook for the team, Wick can't. It just doesn't make any logical sense for Wick to be like, we already know now that he only owns 3% of the team. It doesn't make any sense for him to like remain the front facing owner once you come in and kind of everyone knows that this other person is waiting in the wings, or else otherwise you have this very awkward situation like in Minnesota where you have two owners who hate each other sitting on different sides of the court during playoff games. And so I'm imagining the Celtics are going to want to avoid that, but it's been interesting to see, like, I feel like with other teams, we've heard about rumors about potential buyers a lot. Like, I would have thought the Celtics were like one of the higher desired organizations to buy in the NBA. And maybe this is entirely just, I don't know what type of bias it would be, but just like, I feel like there would be more interest. But we've heard that report about Fenway Sports Group. We've heard Bezos' name floated out, but that was by Bill Simmons, like kind of speculating on his podcast. But other than that, I don't think we've heard any other kind of rumored individuals, maybe because the asking price is north of $5 billion and not a lot of people have that kind of money lying around. But I would have thought we've heard more kind of just speculation about potential people who wanted to buy the team at this point.
Yeah, I think, again, I would imagine there's just pretty early in the process right now. Like, they're got to put all the books on the table, essentially, of like, okay, this is what we have. This is our future. This is who owes what this is how we run. And it takes a long time to put that picture together if you're putting together a sale for something like any, sports franchise, much less the Boston Celtics, coming off a championship. And so, yeah, I imagine as we get into, once the season gets going, we know that their target is to get this done during this season, the first half of this, which means I think as we roll into the fall here and into the winter, that's when the rumor mill will probably start buzzing more, because once things get serious about something like this, like it's going to be, the web of people that know about it will get a little bit bigger, and we might be hearing a little bit more buzz on this front. But I do think, like, how much do you think articles, like, or just the knowledge of stuff like this for like Mazzulla, Brad Stevens, etc., knowing like the sense of urgency for this season coming up, knowing like, hey, there's a lot of uncertainty past this year on a variety of fronts, but certainly from a player standpoint, we're definitely not guaranteed to be able to bring this group back. Like, we know what Joe's mentality is, but if you're Brad right now, do you potentially use that extra first round pick for this year, like at the trade deadline, et cetera, like knowing that like you really got to make that push now because you just may not have that option at all come next year.
You talking about trading a first round pick and adding more salary to this team, B-Rub? That's crazy. No, I mean, I don't know. I think it's an interesting thing. I feel like Brad might consider it more than Missoula. I feel like Missoula is so just locked into winning that he doesn't need any more extra motivation. And I don't think Missoula is going to be able to necessarily talk to the players about the financial ramifications. As soon as he gets to that, there it's in one ear, one out the other. It may have an impact on Brad because it's directly affecting his operating budget, I would say. And so, I mean, if Brad does trade one of his first round picks, are we reading too much into that? Because Brad also hates first round picks and only has made his first one ever in this last draft. And so he's never really been a big fan of trying unproven rookies. The other thing, there does put, thank God they won last year, because if they didn't win last year, there would be so much pressure on this season, especially
with Porzingis being out.
With Porzingis being out, but with all of the craziness that happened before they won the championship of all getting to the door. Say they lost the Mavericks in the finals. It would be frightening how much be life or death. And this is a question for you, B-Rob. Do you think when the Celtics blow a lead early December and just lose a game they absolutely shouldn't, do you think people are, or do you think people are going to be a little bit more chill and be like, yeah, we won last year. That things happen. It's December.
People are definitely going to be more chill this year. Because there was so much, I think, damage from past previous playoff collapses against the Heat and the Warriors, et cetera, from those last couple postseasons, especially in crunch time situations. That stuff added up, I think, for a lot of the fan base. Now, with the way they rolled through things last year, pretty much top to bottom from the whole season, if there's any team that has earned the benefit of the doubt, it's this one. For this,
I think you're underestimating the folks of Twitter.com and their fury and poor late game execution, or what they see as bad effort on a second night of a back-to-back in Atlanta or something like that.
There was no track record before, though. It's now there's the track record. It's they particularly in the playoffs, all those comebacks against the crazy comebacks against the Pacers, holding off the Mavs in crunch time, et cetera. There's enough there now where it's all those points are not, you can't stand on those anymore because there's more recent stuff where you can be hey, listen, these guys, they know what they're doing now, or at least knew enough to navigate an undermanned, Eastern Conference playoff field. But it is. But I mean, it is a fact. You're right, though. If they also they didn't have any adversity last year. They didn't have any real losing streaks. So if they lose 5 in a row, God forbid, then I think
the Celtics have lost it. It's a different team. The pressure from the sale is getting to them. We'll see. I'm excited to interact with perhaps a new, chiller version of Celtics fans, but I also kind of love the craziness that Celtics fans would get to anytime there was one bad performance. Yeah, passionate fan base.
I mean, it's great for the players though too in this situation of all these guys are paid, ownership. Who gets? I mean, yeah, someone might get traded that obviously is going to hang over the team, but it's not going to be this year. So there will be no extra pressure on those guys from that standpoint, which I think is very good news if you're a fan of this team of the players can focus in on what matters. Everything's locked in for them, and it'll be all right there essentially.
Yeah, I was actually watching a clip from Jeff Teague's podcast recently, and I've never listened to an episode of Jeff Teague's podcast, but he's got some great clips and some great storytelling. And I don't think we appreciated Jeff Teague enough while he was here in Boston. In fact, I think I said probably negative things about Jeff Teague, but that's because he didn't tell any stories when he was there. But he was talking about his first contract year and like signing his first contract and how much like that just weighed on him every single game because he was like, I need to have a 38% 3-point percentage if I'm going to have like set myself up. And like, it totally affected how he was playing. Thankfully, none of the Celtics have been in that kind of like contract situation, but you're right. Every single person is set up, guaranteed contracts. They have nothing to worry about except winning back-to-back, not being on a title offense, like an Orca. But I think the thing to worry about is like maybe they're too comfortable heading into next season because everyone is paid. But it's for Joe Mazzulla to figure out, and I'm sure he'll have creative ways to motivate the fellas as Joe Mazzulla does. Two last pieces of nonsense before we get out of here. Jason Tatum predicted on Jimmy Fallon that he thought it'd be a rematch against the Mavericks in the finals, and then Kyrie Irving changed his Instagram profile picture to a picture of himself standing at center court at the TD Garden, and he's clearly standing on Lucky. And when is this guy going to learn that messing with Lucky in such a public manner is not going to work out for him? He performs terribly at the TD Garden. And maybe this is him trying to like sage the situation, or but you don't tempt the leprechaun gods like that.
He can't help himself. It'll be till his like retirement day in the NBA. He'll be taking backhanded swipes at Lucky in Boston, and it's funny how it's kind of played out over the years, and particularly with this last finals. But that's just good. At this point, it's just entertaining, if nothing else, on that front from him.
And I feel like it's the exact thing that if Kyrie Irving gets asked a question about this, he's going to be like, I just set it to a picture of myself, you assholes. But then you can't say that you have a third eye and that you're like doing all this thing. You could have set a picture to yourself standing on any court in the league. It could have been the Mavericks home court, but the picture is very clearly Kyrie Irving standing on Lucky at TD Garden. If the man, he has to be self-aware enough to know what's going on there. And so it doesn't stop with him. He's always been an interesting character, but good luck to him. I'm shocked if the Mavericks get back to the finals next year.
Yeah, I mean, if Clay turns back the clock, maybe. But if you're gonna bet between like return to the finals or first round exit for them, like I lean more towards the first round exit in terms of just like I think everything kind of broke perfectly for them last year, and this time around in the West, it might not be so easy. How do you feel about Mook in the Garden, MSG?
I feel great about it. I love Mook. He signed what it was an Exhibit 9 contract. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I don't know
So
what
that's
that
like
is.
what all the guys that the Celtics had last year were on Exhibit 9s, like coming into camp, like Stevens. So it's pretty much literally just like no guaranteed money. And yeah, you earn a spot, you're in a spot. But if you get hurt, like I'm kind of stunned that Mook is what do you score in that game 5? Like 25 points?
I forgot about that. That was awesome.
Like
he was so good. He was so good in that game. He was single-handedly kept the Cavs in that game. He had 25 points. He made 5 of 6 from 3. He was phenomenal. Wow, I completely forgot about Mook in that end of that series.
And this is all you get? And you get an Exhibit 9? That's all you can do? It's like, it's one thing when the Delano Bands and the Stevens of the world get that, but if you're coming off like 25 points in a playoff game and you still can't get a guarantee, I know he's old, I know he can't play defense, but like, it's a tough going right now for journeyman veterans in the league, Packard.
He is 35. He averaged 6 points a game last year across all his teams, and so I'd be shocked. I mean, he's competing with Landry Shamet now. I think who signed a similar deal with the Knicks. I don't know if this necessarily moves the needle in the Eastern Conference, but at least Jay will get to talk to Mook, 4 times a year, potentially, if he makes the team. So good for Mook.
It's a big if, but no, that's more Mook. More Mook interviews with Jay is always a good thing.
I would agree. He's a Philly guy, and I guess I'm a Philly guy now, so I have to be proud of Mook. That's going to do it for us, folks. Again, if you liked this podcast, we do a podcast every single day about the Boston Celtics on patreon.com/stillpoddable. We're getting excited for the season ramping back up. Media Day is only 2 weeks away. Less
8 days away.
8 days. My gosh.
Sneaking up.
Soon the Celtics will be in Abu Dhabi playing the Nuggets, and the new season will be upon us. And so if you want more Celtics content covering the title attack, I'm trying to keep saying that. I don't remember how Joe Mazzulla framed it, but it's not a title defense, folks, because defense is passive aggressive, and we want to be aggressive in our title attack. If you're excited and you want to be aggressive in the title attack, go to patreon.com/stillpoddable. Subscribe to be a kid, a god, or a legend today for daily Boston Celtics content as they go for Banner 19. We appreciate everyone who listens here on the CLNS YouTube page. I appreciate you guys for tuning into this episode of Still Poddable.
Still Poddable, Still Poddable. The Boston Celtics, Still Poddable, Still Poddable. Oh, yeah.
Slow down from eating and drinking and all that wild stuff.